good to be here and be part of this series. I'm a professional strength and conditioning coach, and a competitive Ironman athlete is how I describe myself. I just turned 50, and I suppose, my time and experience training athletes and also being an athlete myself, it's my livelihood, it's my passion, it's what I do and think about every waking minute. And so that's me. I love training, I love helping people achieve goals, and I love the human body and all it can do, and I suppose the complexities of how it responds to what we give it. So this is the essential guide for high performance in age group athletes. This series is brought to you by Polar. Polar has 5 decades of research and innovation in health and performance. They've been the gold standard when it comes to monitoring heart rate for a long, long time. I remember using Polar 30 years ago when I was younger. And the cool thing about what they do, what they can provide, is data and knowledge to help us understand ourselves, our bodies better. This first episode is about the fitness battleground for age group athletes. Let's start by addressing the big elephant in the room. Most of us would love to be healthier, perform better, but we don't. 2/3 of all adults are obese or overweight or just generally unhealthy. And obviously this creates lots of issues in due course, in time. Being overweight, being unhealthy, being unfit, increases your risk of illness, the onset of certain diseases, and just affects your performance in day-to-day life. So the key thing is actually trying to figure out how we address that elephant in the room as individuals and as adults. The question we have to ask ourselves is, if we aren't where we want to be from a health perspective, why wouldn't we want to do something about it? The benefits of being fitter, being healthier are absolutely enormous. Mood, energy, concentration, discipline, motivation, all those affect how you feel, how you perform. The benefits create so much more for us in terms of the longevity and our performance and not just our chosen exercise or sport, but in our life. I think the opportunity that exists for all of us, if we can break down the barriers that are put in front of us, whether we smash through them or go around them or leap over top, the opportunity is there to be happier and healthier, and everyone actually deserves a chance to be a better, happier, healthier version of themselves. The key thing for me is we only get one body, and we need to look after it, we need to invest in it, we need to cherish it. So let's kick this series off with actually understanding how to break through some of those barriers. This series is for the age group athlete, the person that wants to improve performance but isn't a high performance elite athlete. Those people that have a really busy life and that produces challenges with time, energy, priorities, and often asked or often challenged by, how do we do this? How do we actually invest time and energy into our body to be healthier, to be fitter, to perform a bit better? How do we do that? And it's not simple, otherwise I wouldn't be standing here right now talking to you about it. It's complicated, but it's very achievable. The biggest challenges facing most age group athletes is, I suppose, the complexity of life nowadays. The thing most of us lack is time. The next thing we lack is energy. And what then becomes tough is how do we prioritize? I think, I mentioned earlier that we've got one body, and that should help you prioritize it as be something that doesn't come first, but is very high on the list. Often most of us don't do that. The simple fact is that there's about 168 hours in a week. And, if you take into account how much time we spend eating, sleeping, and working, there's actually still plenty of time left in our week. There's still 40 odd hours left in our week. And so what typically happens in age group athletes is we lose consistency of our training because other things pop up. We sometimes get stuck comparing ourselves to others. So that creates a little bit of uncertainty or negativity. A big challenge for age group athletes is lacking the tools for success, and some of those tools are about knowledge, are about information, are about programming or programs. And so there's a number of things that make being a successful age group athlete in your health and fitness journey difficult. Something I like talking about is the performance triangle, where basically most of us are motivated at some points in time, and we tend to lack two other things. We tend to lack knowledge or skills to be able to create a consistent plan, and we lack structure. And so let's just say we're all motivated. The two things we need to spend some time and energy on sort of achieving is some knowledge and skill, and also a clear structure to allow us to move. We want to move the needle, we want to shift the curve. How do we do that? We all want to, but how do we actually do it? We're going to put together 6 amazing episodes. These are going to cover goal setting, planning, how to become a better runner, strength training, nutrition, recovery, and finally performance. Often we can get lost or confused in all the information out there, and it's just so complicated sometimes. So let's actually simplify things for you to provide you more knowledge, to help you put together a structure and a plan to achieve your goals. The key things really, if we simplify the purpose, which is improved health and performance for age group athletes, why would we want to learn about that? Well, it's simple. It's going to help you be healthier and live longer. Okay, it's going to provide you all-day energy, improved performance, enhanced well-being, all the things we need and want, not sure how to get. It's going to help you with your mood, how happy you feel, how motivated you are. The key thing also is it's not a quick fix, right? Like we've got one body, we'll look after it, but it's not about just doing it well for 1 week or doing it well for a month. Let's actually help you create some lifelong habits that will positively impact you for the rest of your life. And I suppose the final piece of the puzzle for us, is helping you achieve awesome sense of accomplishment through improving your performance. Because at the end of the day, you're watching this series because you are motivated and you think that you can make some shifts, whether that's in health and or your performance. I think that anyone can improve their health and their performance. I feel like there's always some excuses, there's always some barriers, but that's normal and that's real life. And we all go through different periods of time where those barriers are bigger, smaller, more frequent. But really, the reason why most of us struggle to achieve all it is we want is mainly because we get distracted. We get caught up in other stuff. Maybe our knowledge of key principles or our knowledge of and understanding of key principles isn't as good as it could be. We make some bad decisions around training. Like we try and achieve some goals too quickly. We progress too quick. We get hurt. We have setbacks. We get ill. All that just creates more anxiety around our direction, and maybe people give up a bit too easy. So what we need to sort of instill in people and understand is that patience is important. Taking our time to achieve our goals and get to our goals. I've said it already. It's definitely possible. It's not easy. Nothing worthwhile is easy in this life. So we have to be patient. We have to create some consistency, and we need to just progress at a rate that is suited to our body, where we're currently at, and our end goal. The last thing that is a really big one is motivation. Or maybe the goal becomes a bit too hard, or we achieve it. And I suppose keeping that motivation high, that level of drive high, is something we all struggle with at various points in time. I know myself, I lack motivation and drive when it's winter. When it's dark until 8 o'clock in the morning, it's dark again at 4, and it's cold, and it's wet. We all struggle with motivation at different times. So I think that's a big challenge. If we can keep motivation high and we can keep learning, we put a good structure in place, then some of these barriers will help undo. I think the challenge for every single person is finding what's going to drive you and get you out of bed when it is dark and cold, or you're tired, or you just can't be bothered. And people have talked about this for a long, long time, and I'll sort of use it because I quite like it. But, what's your why? Why is it why are you doing this? For me, myself, I ask myself about my why all the time. Why do I want to do Ironman? Why do I want to not just complete, but compete? And for me, I just love the challenge. Okay, so I love a challenge. But everyone will have their different reasons and their different drives, their different motivations. And I think just sitting back and maybe writing some ideas down about what it is you want to achieve and why will help you create motivation. So for example, I want to be on this planet for another 30 or 40 years or longer, so that I can see my kids have grandkids, and I want to be healthy, and I want to be a great granddad. And so that's going to help me be driven to not get unhealthy. And so I think we'll all have different reasons, but maybe most of us don't spend enough time thinking about it. What do you want to change? What aren't you happy about? Who cares? Well, I'll tell you what, my daughters definitely care that I'm healthy. Okay, so at the very least, I want to do it for them. But understanding what your why is important. And I think you need to unpack the importance, or unpack the why, so that when it is dark and cold, you can use that to get yourself out of bed and do what you know you need to do. Part of my job as a performance coach is to try to understand some athletes' drive, their motivations, their whys. So often I'll ask an athlete, what is it you want to achieve, or what is it that you are thinking about when it comes to when the going gets tough? Why are you doing this? How are you going to get out of bed early in the morning to do what you got to do? I had one athlete, a rugby player, who wanted to basically play for the All Blacks, and when I sat down with him and asked him his why, a little tear came into his eye, and I'm actually getting a bit fuzzy about this, but tear came into his eye, and he said to me, "You know what, Gilly?" He says, "I just want to be able to walk into my dad's home and see in the hallway an All Blacks jersey that I've given him to say thanks, Dad. And that's all I want to do, because that will mean the world to him." And so that athlete went on to play for the All Blacks, went on to be a very good All Black. But his drive was not about himself, it was about making his dad happy and proud. And that certainly got him out of bed to do the hard work when no one else was looking. Whew. So my role as a professional performance coach, I work with rugby players. I help people achieve in endurance sport. I love coaching athletes achieve, their goals and their challenges. And I suppose another example of a success story that's maybe not about high performance, but more about understanding a why, but also the importance of knowledge. So my youngest daughter is a really good little runner. She loves her running, and has had a few setbacks around injuries and body and things. But the best thing I did was I taught her about heart rate, because when we're young, we're sort of indestructible. We don't really need to worry about a plan as much as when we get a bit older. We can just go for a run and run hard or run easy or run long, and we're fine. But because of the injury she was getting, I felt that I needed to help educate her around how to train within her means for her body, and I think the key thing there was taught her about the heart rate zones, and to actually train at an aerobic zone more often to build a base to allow her body to adapt and grow into her running. And it was only last week she ran 20k, and she just sends me her heart rate file, and it's so beautiful because you can see that her heart rate is just sticking really nicely in the aerobic zone, which is what I asked her to do, or I've taught her about. And the cool thing is when she doesn't stick to that, knee gets a bit sore, shins get a bit sore, and so the benefit she's getting from having some guidelines is really, really important. That structure, that knowledge that I mentioned that people lack, by giving that to my daughter, she's not lacking motivation, but that's what she was missing. And now she's got knowledge, she's got structure, her motivation is there, and she's humming along running 20k on a weekend. So I think that sort of shows you the difference between, we had the All Black that was motivated to make his dad proud, and then we've got a young athlete, my daughter, who's just needing knowledge and structure because motivation is already high. To be fair, the journey for my youngest started probably, she always used to come for a jog with Dad, and we'd run 2 or 3 kilometres, and it would be sort of walk jogs and things like that. And then when she'd run by herself, she'd just run hard. And actually the journey started when I got her a Polar watch, because then I could actually educate her with numbers, because she wouldn't listen to Dad, because Dad, what does Dad know? I can run as hard as I want. But when I educated her with data and numbers, like most young people, technology's really useful in some areas. And so that journey started with me showing her heart rate zones that she should be trying to train in more often than not. And so all of a sudden, she's getting feedback, she's interacting with her watch and the data. And so all of a sudden, she's going from struggling to run 3k continuously to now running 20k. And it's probably only taken, I would say, 9 to 10 months of actually progressing slowly to that 20k. She wants to do a marathon in a couple of months, so we'll see how we go. To get fit and stronger, or fit, stronger, healthier, whatever it is we're sort of trying to move, how long it takes is a little bit like how long is a piece of string, because it does depend on where you're currently at, where you've been, your training age, your current level of fitness, and where it is you're trying to get to and when. And so a good example there would be, if I haven't been exercising for 3 months, and even before that I was pretty sort of sedentary for 2 or 3 years, then my starting point's here. And so I'll make some progress quite quickly, but then it'll be slow progress as per normal. If I've been training regularly for a couple of years, I'm at a pretty good level, then I might not make gains as quickly, but over time the ceiling, over the same period of time, that the ceiling on my potential is probably higher. So I think understanding your training age, your history, and therefore where you are right now will help you, I suppose, set some realistic expectations. I've already mentioned it, but I'll mention it again, is often we're in a hurry. We're trying to get to this goal too quickly, or it's unachievable in the time frame we've set. And we all have our reasons for that. Example for me, I try and do Ironman off 3 months training. It's always not enough time. you know. And so my learning every year is I need more time. I need to be fitter when I start. It's the same for anyone, you know. You have to understand where you are right now, and then sort of be realistic about your rates of progression and your rates of improved fitness and health. But again, as I said earlier, we're not in a hurry, because these are habits and knowledge and tools we want you to have for the rest of your life. How does Nic Gill define fit? Well, that's a complex question, mate. I tell you what is fit? Fit is dependent on the individual. You know, same as being healthy. I know that some of my friends don't think me doing Ironman is healthy. Okay. But for me, that's fit and that's healthy. And so everyone's a bit different. And that comes back to your why, you know, what it is you want to do and why do you want to do it. Fit to me is probably about that balance between health and performance. You know, can you do what you love doing, what you want to do, and feel great about it, and be doing it at a level that makes you happy? For some people, being fit and healthy is, you know, exercising 30 minutes every second day and having a healthy diet, and therefore not being super fit or super lean or anything like that, but just being healthy, full of energy, happy, great moods, all of that. Other people would be, you know, fit would be, you know, riding their bike for 500 kilometers a week. Okay. And that's fit. Why? Because I can climb mountains and get to the top at a low heart rate. You know, that's fit. So everyone's different. And I think we always have to come back to that. Your fitness is related to you and relative to you and your goals. I think a really important part of our health and performance journey is understanding adaptations. And, you know, the human body is incredible. You throw any stress at the human body and immediately it will start to adapt. It will start to grow or evolve to deal with that stress better next time. You know, so for example, you lift weights, the body's immediate reaction to lifting weights is, okay, we need to be able to lift those weights better next time, so we need stronger muscle. So protein synthesis goes up to try and rebuild stronger muscle. You go for a run, you go run 10 kilometers, the opposite actually happens. Okay, you try and run 10 kilometers and what will actually happen is your body will go, okay, that was tough. I need to somehow build smaller, less fatigable muscles. Okay, so cortisol's increased. The adaptation is opposite. The key message here is that whatever you throw at the body, it will try and come back better next time. So does that mean that we train once and now we're fit? No, it doesn't, because the adaptations are small, and consistency is what will stack or layer adaptation upon adaptation. So running 10 kilometers every 2 or 3 days is going to allow your body to get aerobically fitter, more endurance, less fatigable muscle. You know, and that's the key. It's about throwing stimulus at the body regularly. And I suppose that comes back to the question is, how much should I train? How fast should I progress? If we have a start point, understand where we are right now, we then need to put some small progressions in place. And part of that depends on how much time we have available. Okay, what's realistic? I know that I'm always so unrealistic, and I get myself into trouble because I'll look at my week and go, okay, I'm going to do an hour here, I'm going to do an hour here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I do it because it's in my day. But at the end of the week, I've done too much too quick. I'm not fit enough for how much I've tried to do. So I get tired. And then it has the opposite effect. You know, then you get grumpy. You're not in a good mood, you're in a bad mood. So I think we have to understand where we are and then put small chunks of work in or small chunks of exercise that allow us to progress at a nice slow rate. And the best way to probably understand that slow rate is through data, okay, which obviously we can get off our polar watches to understand how we're sleeping, how our heart rate variability is, how our heart rate is evolving in terms of our resting heart rate over time, how our heart rate is for the same session two weeks ago. You know, the same session at the same pace, how is our heart rate? Have we done that session more efficiently, therefore we're fitter? So I think it's just a matter of small increments in training stress consistently over time, and then using data to review what we're doing in a simple level. I think training time needed to progress in any goal is going to depend on your start point. If your start point is, I'm already exercising 4 hours a week, but to achieve my end goal, let's say a race that I'm building up for, and that's going to require more time, then I'm going to understand how to, I suppose, slice and dice. I think the training time you need is dependent on the goal you're setting out to achieve, but also what's realistic to fit into your busy life. Because we know age group athletes' biggest challenge is time, because we have all these life stresses that, you know, we have jobs, we have family, we have friends, we have illness, we have all sorts of things going on. So I think most of us have probably 30 or 40 hours of time up our sleeve to do with it what we want. And that could be laying on the couch watching Netflix. It could be stretching. It could be riding a bike in the garage. It could be walking through the bush. But let's say we've got that amount of time. It then comes back to, you know, what is your goal to be healthier and to perform better as an age group athlete? And I think that the key thing is, if you're starting out and you're doing 3 or 4 hours a week, then a logical progression is about 10% more training each week. Okay? So if we were to hit 10% more each week to progress to the level or the goal we're trying to achieve, then that's going to be healthy, it's going to be safe, it's going to be very productive, and you'll be able to absorb that increase in training in a way that creates positive energy, positive mood, all those positive benefits of exercise. A question that most people often ask is, how far out should I set a goal? And, you know, you probably need more time for the more ambitious goals. So if your goal is like, wow, it's way up there, okay, from where I am right now, it's a huge change, then you need to give yourself more time. If it's just a small improvement or a small change in where you currently are at, then obviously you can set shorter time frames. The key thing is probably, you know, when it comes to setting goals, it's important to have a few. And what I mean by that is, here's my end goal, but then let's have a couple of checkpoints or smaller goals or milestones along the way. And that helps us stay on track. It helps us to assess and review. So the first thing is, you know, understand where it is you want to get to, and set that goal. You know, it needs to be achievable. Okay, it needs to be realistic, as in compared to where I am right now, it needs to be realistic. I think you need to be able to measure those milestones along the way to track your progress towards that goal. And then lastly, it comes down to the time required. You know, how long are you going to give yourself? Often, some of us, especially in endurance sport, the time frame we have is dictated by the race date. You know, when is race date? Okay, race date is here, and so that means I've got 4 months. And so that's where being realistic comes into play, or being achievable comes into play. Is, hey, here's the race date, so that's locked in. Okay, now what are my expectations in terms of how I'm going to perform in that race? Okay, what sort of time can I expect to get, or am I trying to get? And then from there we can set some milestones and get a bit more detailed around that goal. I think the key thing for this episode is obviously around our goal setting, and the ultimate success formula for setting goals and achieving them, is we write it down, we sit down, we understand our why, we have a date, and we use those key points around being measurable, being achievable, being realistic, having a time frame or time point, and that's really, really important. But one thing is you've now got a goal, but you need a plan. So you've set a goal, you've got your motivation, you understand your why, but we need a plan. Now that's going to be part of the next episode. We'll try and simplify things around your planning, but you need a plan, you need structure. Once you've got that, then it comes down to putting it into practice. Okay, implementing this plan, take action, and set about building or stacking these training sessions upon one another so the body can adapt, improve, be fitter, be healthier. I like using a phrase because I love pies. I love eating a good pie, mince and cheese, beautiful. But PIE is a nice little thing to remember. You have a program, you go and implement it. But a key thing most of us miss out on is evaluating. So PIE, program, implement, evaluate. When you go to evaluate, for me, I'd evaluate most sessions. How did I go? What are my numbers like? Okay, that was pretty good. I'll see if I can do it better next week. But you should be evaluating your week. How did I go stacking my sessions up? How am I feeling? Am I progressing? How's that sore knee? Okay, so constantly evaluating. And then you'll be evaluating, every month. How am I tracking towards my target, my goal? Now, really, really important part of the process of becoming healthier and performing better. I think the cool thing with any of this is that we can notice results really easily, really quickly. Like we can feel it, we can see it. The data will tell us and show us. If we're being smart with our goals, smart with our training, we will see results, and that'll create even more motivation, because that's an adaptation of training. Being healthier and fitter is your motivation, your energy levels will be greater. So I think that the last point of the goal setting sort of picture is constantly being agile to be able to, I suppose, we review or evaluate our progress, but being okay to change. It could be that you need to tweak something. Maybe I did a bit too much on Tuesday. Maybe my weekends I'm not getting enough sleep. Constantly review and evaluate and being agile with the plan, because the human body is beautiful with how it adapts, but it also throws lots of curveballs at us. So having that flexibility to tweak what you do when you do it is really, really important. Okay, so my top takeaways for you. I suppose the key thing to just refresh where we've been so far, what we've talked about, is that anyone can be a high performer and anyone can improve their health performance. We all have the ability to make change. We have one body, let's look after it. And I suppose as an age group athlete, the most important thing is understanding how to prioritize in our complex lives. So that's the first thing. The second thing is keep it super simple. Okay, don't overcomplicate your training, your health and performance journey. Keep it simple, super simple. And by doing that, you'll get better at it and you'll achieve more consistency. So that's the second key takeaway. The third one, and often I see people struggle with this part, but it should be enjoyable. So if you're not enjoying your training, you need to sit back, evaluate it, and go, how can I make that more enjoyable? Is it because I'm doing it in the dark? Is it because I'm doing it by myself? So how do we make sure that your training is enjoyable? That's a third key takeaway. The fourth one is if you want to get lasting results and stack improvements upon improvements, you need a very safe and gradual progression. Age group athletes are, let's say, not very good at being patient. Okay, so if you're patient and you understand your start point and your expectations and your timeframes are right, then you'll get lasting results and avoid the sort of injury interruptions, the health and illness interruptions that come with trying to achieve too quickly. And then the final key takeaway is you're training and exercising for health and performance, but the health part is all about balancing winning versus socializing, and that's that fun element. Like you can have a very healthy body but be an unhappy person because you don't have time to hang out with friends, to laugh, to enjoy key moments. So training for that health balance is really, really important. They're the key takeaways for this episode. So what we're going to do with every episode is we're going to set you a challenge. And the key point of this is we want to see action. You need to, it's one thing you getting some knowledge, you learning a little bit, you understanding the journey, but actually it's about going out and taking action. So what we'd love you to do once you finish this episode is sit down, set yourself a really smart goal, understand your why, and go about by showing us.